I like to write about stuff, for me, when I write stuff, I like to disguise it as, describe it too as nature. And then there's a relationship, a metaphor I'm making to something else in life.
Mm-hmm.
But so a lot of nature themes, and I like writing about the rain and the wind and snow and the mountains and the rivers and the tides and the currents, all that stuff that makes the world go around, the moon, sun, stars, and all that good stuff.
And as part of that theme, it seems like a lot of it is encouraging and uplifting.
Always,
And that's
yeah.
one of the things that is really, I think, attracts a lot of folks to the band because of that. I think that's a key.
Listen to the vibes.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and this is a first for me. I've got a whole band here with me, and they're a reggae band out of North Carolina called Chalwa. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get into a great conversation. So who wants to start?
I guess I'll start here. I'm Nathali. I play percussion and melodica.
Okay.
I'm Jason. I play saxophone.
I'm D-Train. I play bass.
I'm Dennis. I play guitar and sing.
I'm Josh. I play drums.
I'm Bernard. I play keyboards and sometimes bananas.
And I'm Jay, and I do all the production and sound engineer and all that stuff.
All right. So why reggae all the way out there in North Carolina?
Why not?
Hey, I hear you.
That's we just play from our inspirations, and we're really inspired by the Roots Reggae, and this has kind of led us to meet one another and play music with one another. But we I mean, it's definitely our interpretation of reggae. It's there's an authentic sound that comes from the islands that we're just doing our best to kind of interpret, playing from our hearts, adding what we can add.
Gotcha. I also noticed that y'all were inspired by the Grateful Dead.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Saw the Dead quite a bit, and so I'm big into the jam and all the, improv and stuff like that. I've always been big into that, and so recording that and getting that, one-time experience on, not tape now, just on digital media. It's fun. It always gives you something new, something different each time.
I think we're kind of in the perfect spot, even geographically, to kind of have that clash of the mountain jam band scene with the mountain reggae scene, because we feel like the mountains here are very similar to the mountains back in Jamaica, and we kind of inspire or take from both areas and combine them.
And I was reading a little bit about your history, and I noticed, I guess, the pandemic hit and things kind of changed, and y'all did something different. Can you talk about the radio station?
Yeah, I think a lot of bands, they had a big impact negatively from when 2020 came, but we kind of just decided this was our tribe, and we had been recording in the studio and doing multi-camera live feeds for a while before the pandemic. So when that hit, we kind of just took it a step further, and we grew as a band and wrote more music and just stuck together through all that time. So I think that was kind of a crucial period for us to continue to grow that and our online show presence. And then that all evolved into using all of Jay's recordings to create a radio station. So kind of like the Dead and Jay's inspiration from that, we track everything that we do, whether it's a live show or a studio session. It's kind of our mission to build a massive archive of music, one of the biggest ones of our time if we can do it, because we feel like every time we play a song it's different and unique, and we just want to capture that along the way. So we launched a radio station on YouTube with hundreds and hundreds of tracks, different variations of them, to where you can tune in 24/7 and kind of explore the past few years of us as a band.
Cool visuals too.
Yeah, Jay does a lot of the video and audio visuals, and yeah.
Sometimes sometimes there'll be a product, old show that we're doing, a replay from one of our live streams.
Right.
There's all kinds of entertainment there. New Roots Radio, big up New Roots Radio.
That's it.
That's right.
I know one of the videos that I watched, it was really psychedelic, and I had, I've listened to stuff like Bob Marley and Eddie Grant, that kind of thing, and
good stuff.
I have to say, y'all don't sound like all those bands. You have a different sound about you, and even my wife kind of stopped and was like, "What are you listening to?"
We do have a unique sound. We've kind of really all our diverse influences, really came together and kind of created this unique sound. Like I said, the roots in the reggae beat and feel, but all our other influences coming from many different styles of music has kind of just incorporated on top of it and created kind of this new feel that we've always felt kind of was our unique sound, but still familiar enough to relate it to reggae or rock or the jam band scene. So it's kind of cool we can cross through all those different barriers like that too.
And I noticed that y'all have played along with some pretty big bands as far as the reggae world goes. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, we're just blessed that we're in an area where we have big acts come through, and we're lucky when they want to have a local band open up for them, we get that opportunity. Doing the Wailers not too long ago was a nice opportunity. In the past, we've had Steel Pulse. We've worked with Pato Banton a good bit. He's been living in the States now for a good while. When he first came, we got to work with him. And
Culture, Midnite.
Well, what a great idea.
Becca, yeah.
Yeah, Culture. Luciano.
Yeah.
Luciano's a magnificent musician, Grammy nominee. But yeah, SOJA actually just won the Grammy. We got to work with SOJA back when they were still up and coming. But I don't know if you heard them. They're, I think, from Virginia. But that's another, American reggae band that's in the scene, playing a different kind of version than what, you might have traditionally have heard.
And do y'all get to travel across the country?
Through the virtual world, yeah.
Through the virtual world.
We do more virtual touring than but we play in like different towns around North Carolina, sometimes outside of state. We can get there. A lot of times it's just easier. We've got a residency.
Yeah, we've been doing reggae Sundays for years at the local breweries that they have. There's so many breweries where we're at in Asheville. So we've been at a couple of them for different, periods of time. But really, for the past 12 years or more, we've been doing reggae Sundays. And also every Tuesday we come here in the studio. So both those now we live stream, which helps us reach a bigger audience. And then we do go, we get invited to do weddings and different private functions. There's certain festivals that come through the area we'll be a part of from time to time.
The band has traveled in the past, gone out Colorado and down to Jamaica. But we just kind of took a different approach, trying to apply new rules to the internet and seeing if we can take ourselves places through those streams versus the logistics of having such a big band with maybe not quite the infrastructure built to hit the road. And I feel like, a lot of us are family men. We try and stay in the area most of the time, but then still figuring out how to bridge that gap of how do we reach audiences all over the globe.
What's that like being a family man and I mean you're out playing every weekend? I mean, how's the family? Are they real supportive of that?
It comes and goes.
Life is a balancing act.
Yeah.
They're all very supportive, but it's very hard to balance. It's a lot of work,
That's right.
and it's it's a balance that we always try to find and work towards, and because it's nice to be able to give back to the world and then still have the family life and have a great home to come home to. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And how many albums do y'all have out?
Four, five, and like tons of the other recordings and stuff, but we do have 5 actual discs,
Studio CDs.
Studio CDs that we actually did in the studio, and
And then we have the lost COVID archives.
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of
But
hits in there.
we'll probably get back to releasing main releases. But for the past few years here, we've really just focused on what do we do with all this material? We're recording constantly. How do we, get that out into the world as well and find that balance?
luckily Dennis writes really good songs and lots of songs, and so that keeps us fresh all the time, when he brings in a new song. And our repertoire has to be big because we play so many of the same venues and stuff like that. We don't want to play the same set each time. And so, and also our other guitarist isn't with us today, but he has a few songs that he's written, so that adds also to our repertoire too. And that really broadens the thing, you know what I'm saying? So that's how we got a lot of these songs that we just never know how they're going to come out. And like we say, sometimes I'll be riding around listening to the radio station. I can't even believe that, it's us that did this. I'm like, going, wow, or you'll forget and you're like, man,
we have such an archives. We have songs not even finished yet that, got started on that we can just go back to, just pull out and
pretty much.
Yeah, I think we have,
but we're so busy making new stuff, why go back?
opposite problem of most bands. Most bands are trying to always come up with new material for albums. And we actually have a lot of really valid material that's hard to pick through because we play them so often. They're always evolving and changing. That sometimes it's hard as a songwriter and with a band to sit down and pick out of right now we probably have 20 songs that we record right now, just go, because we've played them so many times. They're our babies. So I think sometimes having too much music can almost feel overwhelming. It's where do you start? How do you group these songs into little, things that make sense as a unit, as an album? But
it's a nice problem to have.
It's a nice problem to have. Yeah, look forward to some new music coming out. So we have so much, and we shouldn't sleep on it too long.
Yeah, basically at this point we need to pick through our archives and pick our favorite versions of songs we've recorded pretty much already. So it's the legwork has been done on the recording process. We just have to go through and comb through those favorite versions, because every version is different. We play it different every time, different energy depending on the space in the crowd. And I think that's where we're kind of saying it gets hard to condense all that down into just your normal album. So we focused on releasing a radio station with everything available, and now we're going to go back to getting
and it makes choices for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't have to decide on which song it is, and sometimes it'll really surprise you. It's like, oh wow,
all those are live takes. So that's what I love about the radio station. All that's it's not overdubs and anything with that. They're all live takes on that radio station.
From either a live venue or done live in here when we did a broadcast and all that. Well, so everything's spontaneous, improv, everything is in the moment, and
you hear the different notes.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Different.
Well, I think we're all I think everyone here is really talented at what they do musically. And there's a lot of people out there that play instruments in a phenomenal way that none of us could probably get to. But I think what we have individually is the emotional aspect that we put into our music. That's hard to achieve. You can't get taught how to put your emotion into your music. But then when we all come together and all that different emotion and all that different energy comes together, depending on the day, it's going to be different. So we just go with that. And then the music comes out according to how that energy is making us respond. And to kind of get back to your question about the Grateful Dead, I feel like they not only started that whole movement. I grew up listening to the Dead, never saw them live, only had 2 albums, but I had boxes and boxes of live bootleg shows, that I just listened to. And then years later, go back and listen to the albums and just hear the nuances in the songs and the different craftsmanship. But I think we can all relate that we really kind of come with energy and emotion. And we can play a top-notch show that we don't miss a note, but it's just lacking that. So we always try to give it the extra, vibe.
Was there a love for reggae when y'all were younger, or did it just kind of stem from something else?
Josh pretty much grew up in reggae. His father was a reggae artist, and so he pretty much spent his whole time there. So, yes,
Josh came out
He was playing reggae for sure growing up, so that's all I've done, focused on, and was lucky to meet these guys that want to play it the same thing. So
I think we all fell in love with it at different points in our life, no doubt, and that's what brought us together. I grew up in the area personally and moved out of the area and started getting into reggae music with my music growing. And then when I moved back here, I heard about this reggae band that played at a brewery every weekend. I was like, I want to be in that band. And, I think we all kind of have our own story along the same lines.
That's what happened to Bernard kind of too.
I learned a lot of reggae through meeting this band. 18 years ago, I would say, is when I first started diving into reggae and reggae lifestyle and everything reggae. And that's when I met this guy and that guy. And I've been following them, and I learned a lot through them and listening and going to the shows, and then being incorporated into the band years later, and getting to bring my own vibe to it.
They got to go to Jamaica.
Yeah.
And I got to go to Jamaica with him and play at Peter Tosh's house, and all over the grill side of Jamaica, the West End. And that's kind of my story behind reggae.
I'm going to tell his story too, because I feel like it's really special.
Can I tell it?
You can tell it too. We're all give our.
I want to hear every version.
So I met D-Train working at a organic food store years and years and years ago.
He's still there.
And we met up, and he had met some other guys in the band that were working there. And I think before that he'd started to get into the reggae scene. But when I met him, we just like really clicked, not only on reggae, but just like pop culture in the 80s, like, Star Wars, all that stuff. Just really had a connection. And so D-Train would come to all of our shows. I used to be the bass player for years, started the band on bass for years. And he trained cellist, so he has it in him, and played guitar growing up and all that stuff, and was in bands. But used to be like our number one supporter. He'd be at our shows before we got there, helping us load in all our gear, load our gear out, always wearing a Chalwa shirt, just like number one fan. And then before I knew it, all of a sudden he stole my job as the bass player, and he's in the band full time. And it's just awesome to see that transition,
I freed him up to play guitar, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
So you were a stalker.
Yeah, I'm a stalker.
Well, say I don't know a whole lot about reggae. Of course, I mean, who doesn't know Bob Marley? And I think my first introduction was Eddie Grant, and I think I was probably 12 years old at that point. And of course, you had bands like the Police, who had a kind of a reggae style, and a few other bands, but I mean, I listen to y'all stuff, and even though I don't know a whole lot, I could still tell there's a difference between y'all and everybody else. And I mean, how in the world do you come up with something different than what everybody else is doing?
I think we just in each of our own way we stay true to who we are as a person, and that comes through our instruments, because we all have a similar but different background with the love of music, and you could say genres of music, and the foundation that we click on is reggae, and through Chalwa in an essence in itself. No matter who was here at what time frame, we all came together through our love, this connected love of this music, but we have our own style and background that is, we could find similarities, but each are different. Because I was a big Blink-182 fan and Green Day, which he liked Green Day. But I also love Aerosmith and classic rock, which he likes classic rock.
He's prog too.
And prog, but prog relates to this guy, but jam band relates to this one and this one, and reggae and reggae, and
pretty much
reggae.
Yeah, I got jazz blues background a little bit.
We're three classically trained. Him and I both had the same college professor in at UNCA for music.
But also Dennis has also encouraged the band to support one another and let everybody be free with whatever musical expression they might engage in at the spur of the moment.
There's no stepping on toes.
Yeah, most of the time it works really well. I mean, there's always the occasional, oh, that didn't quite fit real well, but whatever, it inspires folks to just keep pressing on and be creative.
And to add to that, in the D Train, at times there'll be three of us soloing at the same time, but we're still listening to each other.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's no stepping on toes. And then, just like D Train saying, I think we're all kind of here to create. We're not trying to recreate anything. And I think that's what goes wrong with a lot of music, especially kind of the American reggae going on right now. It all filtered through the West Coast, got kind of that sublime vibe to it, and everyone's replicating that to their best ability, putting their own twist, no doubt. But I think just all of us pulling from the roots, whether it's Jamaican roots or our own personal experiences, to create and not recreate.
And like I said, we're lucky that we have a guy that can write really good songs that make it easy for them to do what they do, and which in turns makes it easy for me to do what I do, because I can't play an instrument, believe it or not. So I have to have a band to do what I do. And luckily most of us have been working together for 12, 13 years. A few of them have been in for well over 5 years now. And so we all kind of speak in a musical language when we're all out there, because even the stuff I do out front, in the front of the house, interprets what they're doing on stage. So we all kind of go on that journey together when we do take off in a jam. Like, we're not really scared to jump off the limb and fly, you know what I mean? So we can take it out there and really take you on a musical journey that's really unique experience, And so it's kind of it's really awesome on my end to be able to get to experience that. And it makes each recording unique, and so it makes me look forward to coming in and sitting down and remixing the show. And God, like I said, I've been multi-tracking them for so many years
too, because he makes it sound so good. You want to play so well because it sounds so good. So,
and then the beauty of having Jay all the time, I mean, he is our sound. So whether we're here in his studio or out live, it's hard to tell the difference between it. So we can even mix in live tracks on a studio album, and you can't really tell the difference. We've gotten used to playing in those settings.
I haven't. Whenever Jay's not there, I feel like we're missing our most important person.
Well, I was saying I was used to it when he's there, not when he's not.
Now, this is a question that I'm hoping that each one individually can answer. The reason why I started doing this particular show was to try to help inspire and motivate people, because there's enough negativity out in the world. Let's bring some positivity in here. people sometimes don't want to chase their dreams because they're afraid. But sometimes we have to overcome quite a bit of hurdles in our lives. Is there anything that you can talk about? And it could be musically or it could be life in general. Anything that you've had to overcome. And I guess we can start in the front and work our way to the back.
Which front? That way?
We'll start with you. How's that? You spoke up first.
Yeah, I did speak up first. Yeah. Boom. Well, I guess musically starting out, if I go back to the roots of playing saxophone, it's when I had a big move when I was 10 years old from Asheville, this mystic mountain town, to Raleigh, where I felt like my identity just got stripped away because I was in some private school concrete jungle environment. And felt like a misfit, but saxophone was the thing that I picked out right away. I knew I wanted to play music, and that thing looked the coolest. It sounded great, and it was a big locomotive since then. Pretty much everything in my life that I have, I can attribute to that, whether it's friends growing up, other musicians to play with, and in turn, music to grow together with other people. And I think that's something that is just, it's the backbone of what I do. I literally treat it as my identity. And yeah, I guess fast forward to the past few years, I mean, gone through quite a bit. We all did in 2020, and we came together as a tribe, and that's what we did. We made music. I mean, I went insane over here at points, just being like, how do we do this more? Like, this is the thing that I have going in my life that isn't completely falling apart. So, yeah, I guess music is always something, whether you're a listener or a musician, that you can just hold on to and know that it's going to take you along for the ride.
And now,
Okay, what's such a good question, and hard to think of spur of the moment. So I guess, all right, so my life mission, I feel like, is to inspire, which you had said. I just like to inspire in some way, shape, or form. And music has always been there for me, and so that's my tool and my vehicle. And something I've overcome in wanting to inspire positivity and be a positive change in the world, is starting with myself, and my each moment to moment, day to day, little whatever happens, and how to overcome my feelings or address them, I guess, and help change myself in a positive way to help have that positive energy around that spreads to each person, whether it's just a smile or whatever, and just to try to find that balance in each moment of the day by day, I guess. I don't know. That's a really good question. It's a hard one to answer.
Good answer, D-Train.
Yeah, you did great. All right, Dan.
I think I'm gonna kind of leave it to where, personally, I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't had to go through too many personal life challenges, but being super aware and super sensitive, waking up every day and seeing the balance that exists in everyday life, and just trying to put that positive foot forward for every person you meet, like D-Train said, and try to infect everyone with a little bit of love, because it doesn't cost anything at all to be nice and show love and show gratitude. And I think just day by day, taking care of the day in the moment takes care of the later. Because each day you have to overcome sometimes, so yeah, maybe each day might be a big thing to overcome. So I'm grateful each day I'm here, and try to use each moment, each thought, and each heartbeat to my best ability, and just show people grace, myself grace, not act as judge or prosecutor or attorney, just kind of act as that conduit for love and acceptance. So yeah, that's me.
Let's go back to the drums.
For me, it's probably my it's probably shared. It's when around 2008, my father was diagnosed with kidney failure, and I've only played music with my father up to this point. So that was a point of really stopping and slowing down and not getting to play as much. We played 3 days a week. And then it went to him not being able to do anything for himself and doing dialysis and stuff like that. And so yeah, that went to like from 100 to nothing. But through that whole time, he never stopped putting his guitar down, even by himself and in his room and being in his studio. So seeing him get his new kidney and then see music push him right through his healing process, when all the doctors would say, how are you doing so well so fast, Mr. Lynn? And he's like, oh, I just play my music and keep going, and keeps his spirits up, so. And by the time he started getting better, we were starting to have some shows come along. He felt better to start booking some shows again, and you could see it really start to heal him and then heal us together as well. So yeah, those are a really powerful time in my life right there, was that for sure, and a really healing time to see how strong music is and how uplifting it is. So it helps us spread the message for the next time.
And Danny's still rocking the day.
Yeah, big up his dad. Comes to the studio and plays with us.
Yeah, awesome. He's still playing to this day. We got a show next month.
Yep.
And to see him transform once again when he's on stage, I mean, like everyone's saying, we play music with Danny and it energizes us, but to see him really come to life is amazing to watch as well.
Josh's dad's from Jamaica. He's an authentic Jamaican songwriter. Been doing it before all of us, except maybe Jay and Bernard, were born. Moved here in 1966, and the band's called Salem. They're great songwriting. It's a little plug for his band.
Yeah, during the 90s, he's had the band for over 40 years, but during the 90s, one of his my favorite reggae drummer that he ever had passed away. So I was about 8 then, so that was the first time that I ever had the courage to get on stage. He jacked me up for during his tribute for this drummer. So yeah, he's had me doing it for a long time for him, but there's no other person I'd rather do it with, for sure. I cherish those times so much.
And Josh's mom is Hawaiian, so Josh does a lot of.
She's not Hawaiian.
Did you know? I thought you were.
No, I said, good thing she's up next.
Hey, she's like totally Irish or something.
I thought she was Hawaiian.
Hey, Bernard, your story.
Your story. My story is
You got that gap keep.
yeah, ethnicity's confused, but no, I'd say one of the overcoming something throughout my musical life was probably, the idea of trying to be a rock star or something. It's like trying to make some kind of goal out of music. And that's like, that's one that I think a lot of musicians go through at some level, whether they want to be a classical pianist, which I decided I didn't want to be. I wanted to be do audio technology and just kind of minor in piano, that sort of thing. But changing the reason why you really want to play music and the healing aspect and the joy it brings to people is just so overwhelming, but other than that, musically, like technically, I'd say that joining these guys has been fun for me because I'd always been more of a classical pianist, trained that sort of way into prog rock and that sort of thing. And so things are really technical in a certain way. And so leading or doing improv in general never came. I was like a fish out of water. I always felt like I didn't really feel comfortable with it and that sort of thing. So playing with these guys for years now has really helped me overcome that fear, or not really fear, but just total uncomfort and discomfort of trying to make up some kind of lead and really not worry about it. Like one of our songs, it's no matter.
Yeah, no matter.
Don't worry about it.
Don't think about it.
Enjoy it and feel the love and the joy that you bring to others. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess it comes to me now.
I want to hear what yours is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Wow. Mine's always run off of a dream. And I grew up in a whole town where, let's just say it's a good southern town. And I grew up, on all the typical 70s classic rocks of the South and all that stuff. But I was lucky to have family in California who influenced me on, different styles of music and stuff. And of course, Grateful Dead was one of them, but I went through a big journey before I got there. And then once I got there, I kind of knew that when I first heard the Dead and how clear they were live, that was what I was about, you know what I mean? Is trying to reproduce that. And luckily I hooked up with a band that let me, kind of learn with them and build up. And we traveled for years, and that led to this band. And by then I'd already, had the video stuff going and all that and the recording part of it. But, I always just believe in the dream. I've always said, if you stop digging for the diamond, it's just a foot away and somebody else is there to grab it. You know what I mean? And so you've got to keep digging. You can never give up. You know what I mean? You just got to, because it's fun, and I'm lucky that, we're in a group that really love what we do. We really respect how each other plays and ideas and things like that, because most of our ideas are, in the moment. It's not like they're planned out in any way, shape, or form. And then it's just really nice to be able to be in something like this, and especially later on in age like I am, I'm really lucky to be able to keep on rocking and doing the things that we do. And, this teaches me stuff each and every day, that's for sure. So I'm always learning still, keeps the mind fresh, and all that good stuff. And, it's definitely fun. I'm definitely the elder of the bunch, but
he's old, man.
I call him Dad.
Yeah.
Jason.
Sometimes he gives us allowance if we're real good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Real good.
We all got new microphones for Christmas.
But yeah, like I said, without being able to play an instrument, this is a blessing to be able to have guys that, can do what they do, and makes me look really good, I'll tell you. And we're gonna leave it with Ned here.
Okay.
The best for last.
Yeah.
Right. This could go so many different ways.
Yeah. I've had quite a few obstacles, on this journey. Taking a leap of faith, moving up here in 2005 after, I had a comfortable Caribbean band I played with in Chapel Hill I could have stayed with. I knew I could find another group of people to play with. I just had confidence that I'd find the right people, and God blessed me, and I met Dennis. And but I'd say the most recent obstacle for me personally, I had an incident because I love this plant, the marijuana plant, cannabis, and
Never heard of it.
This plant caused me to go to court one too many times, and they sent me to summer camp one summer, 2011. And in the midst of that summer, I had a revelation that the alcohol I was drinking was really keeping me from playing the music I wanted to play. And all of a sudden, without any forethought, I just was done drinking. And I must say, ever since I removed the alcohol from my appetite, I've really excelled playing music. I've loved music. I've picked up another instrument, started playing it.
Writing songs?
Yeah, writing more songs now.
Writing great songs.
So if you feel like alcohol or anything is keeping you, holding you back, listen to that. You might get a life-changing moment, and those are the moments to take a hold of and change your life. So I give thanks every day, because just getting out of bed can be something to overcome for many people. So being able to get out of bed and get up and stretch, that's a blessing. And, I consider myself a gratefultarian. And it's no joke. I give thanks just being able to breathe in this moment, having this opportunity with you, telling these stories, being with these folks. It's quite a blessing. It's magnificent. So thank you once again. I really appreciate this moment.
Oh, it's a blessing for me as well. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I'm glad you mentioned about the alcohol. I was 36 and I was such an alcoholic that I had a heart attack.
Oh my God, 36?
Yep.
See?
That was
moment, isn't it?
almost 17 years ago, man.
Wow.
What's up?
Wow, good for you, man.
Kind of like the nose candy a little too much too. So
that was a problem I had too, but it seemed to go away when I quit drinking. It's like all of a sudden making better choices.
Right. Well, let me ask you, because I used to barbecue all the time, and when I barbecued, I had to have a drink in my hand. And I find myself not barbecuing as much because I think about the alcohol, even though I don't want
I
it.
drink these. Look, this is like a soda water, LaCroix. This is Waterloo. It's just straight soda water with a little citric acid to get it flavoring. There's no sodium. There's no sugar. I can drink 12 of these things, and it's like no problem.
He does drink 12 of
And
them.
I do, yeah.
He comes up with his cooler. He's good to go.
When I quit drinking beer, which was my choice, I was like perishing for something. And then my wife brought home these soda water cans, and literally you can drink 12 of these things and just go to the bathroom. Yeah, you drive home. I don't lose my keys. I don't wake up in bad situations.
And it goes great with barbecue.
Wake up in bad situations. It's not funny.
Yeah, there's some other things that still go good with barbecue. So it's all, whatever you can find that helps you out. That's not hurtful.
Yeah, you switch one habit for another, right?
That's right.
If it's not hurtful, you want to be healthy as you can be.
Yeah. I can't say that mine was any more healthier because I love chewing tobacco too much.
Oh yeah. But I still love cannabis. I must say cannabis helped me actually with the alcohol, because I found that I really prefer just to smoke a little cannabis than to be, the alcohol made me feel more out of control, where cannabis kind of puts you more in a state of mind where you're more sensitive. You feel actually more in control sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, as a band, do y'all all try to stay away from the alcohol, or how's that work?
Some of them still drink
It's a mixed
beers and
bunch.
stuff, but
We play at breweries and they offer you beers. I'm actually, I don't mind being around it. I'm kind of like a fan because those people pay us. So,
He still brings us beer.
yeah, I receive beer. I just get it and give it to other people.
Actually, almost half the band doesn't drink.
Yeah, we have
Tim doesn't
a good
drink
sober side that doesn't drink
Yeah,
alcohol.
he doesn't drink
I
either.
never drank, and so I was one that just never drank.
All the drinkers can have
But I
a
love the
designated
crowd
driver.
that does drink, so it was easy for me to go around. And I always said, back in the day when people were smoking cigarettes in bars and stuff, I'd say, I've been secondhand smoking since birth.
Yeah, me too.
I probably came out and the doctor was smoking.
Mhm.
Here in the South, they fed us tobacco. Back then, man, it was just the woo tobacco. But I just never was into tobacco or alcohol for some reason, and that's a weird journey there. But
I think it's just kind of per member too. I appreciate Nettie sharing, more personal side of things, but we obviously all have personal stuff going on in our lives, and this is such a sacred space where we can show up, A, not be judged for it, and B, just come here for the music, and whatever you want to bring along the way is fine. I personally don't even smoke right now, and I'm in 2 reggae bands, but that's just because of my journey and what I'm going through and the things I'm trying to find clarity in. So
we support, not judge.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you, my biggest inspiration, I guess, is my grandchildren. I don't want to subject my grandchildren to what I subjected my kids to when I was such an alcoholic.
Oh
Yeah. Changes everything.
Time is precious at this point. And you need to have every day you can we have a choice to get up, and be positive or whatever, but my choice is to get up and try to have the best day I can possibly have, because you never know. You never know. I've lost a lot of soldiers along the way, so we're blessed each and every.
I think we kind of have accountability just playing music together too. We all show up and know that we got each other's support. And
every Tuesday, every Sunday.
It's a tribe. It's a fellowship.
We're friends too. We actually get along pretty well.
Yeah.
We do hang out. Yes. Yeah.
We do stuff outside of here, actually.
Nobody rides in a separate bus.
Yeah.
If we had one, I would, just because I want a separate bus. But with these guys,
Do we have a bus?
soon we're gonna get one for me. You guys are next.
We get a van.
Yeah, you get a van.
And you can take your own car.
So we can just drive up to the hot spot and back, because we don't go on tour. So
Yeah,
that's
Right. And we go virtual tour.
So who's the one that gets picked on the most?
Oh.
Try to pick up. I picked on him.
You're so
Pick
nice.
on him in
He's so sweet.
a lot.
We call him Sweet Beat.
Yeah, his nicknames are.
He doesn't know, but he gives
knows.
it back. He is very good at dealing it back with us. So he's a good jokester.
Oh, it's-
What are you saying?
I say you be next.
Like
I would
make you laugh?
Yeah.
Yes, you
both
may
you guys are here.
He's also the one that falls asleep on the couch at the studio. So
And they can get up and write a killer piano lick right after
Right
that.
after
I
a good
mean,
nap.
just jump up and
yeah, the naps are important. I'm not cutting on them.
Yeah, I never thought that I'd be taking naps, but being a pawpaw, I look forward to nap time.
Oh yeah, it'll happen. It usually happens to me after I eat. The food hits. The next thing I'm trying to fight it. Next thing I know, nah.
In Bernard's defense, though, he usually shows up here like during the wintertime after just hitting the ski slopes and stuff. So he'll be beat.
Yeah,
he'll torn
He
himself up
works
all
all
day
day.
long. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying, I think a good, we all have things we bring, not only musically, but we bring like personally. And we don't pick on anyone, but we do have a lot of fun, man. We cut up pretty hard. And this guy brings it pretty funny sometimes. This guy makes me pee my pants all the time. Joshua, when he does come up with one, it's usually like over the top great. And so I think joy is something the band shares, which is just the shows on stage. Like people tell us, like, man, you guys look like you're having a good time up there. Like you might actually enjoy what you're doing. And we full enjoy it. We full enjoy it just now, just being here, just, cutting up and talking to you, Kyle. The same thing goes whenever we're together. It's just a good compassion we share, a good brotherhood, gentlemen.
That's it.
That's right.
Power Rangers unite.
Power Rangers unite.
I know y'all like, to just jam and improvise, but is there any plans to make any kind of concept album in the future?
Concept.
Always,
Oh,
yeah, we
yes.
always do that. Yeah. There's always everything's on the
treasures?
table.
Those are my favorite to make, by the way. I
Yeah.
love to put background nuances and things like that into albums and
Lost treasure.
stuff you have to
COVID
hear in
years.
special ways. You know what I mean? It's just,
I would say like, the concentration time, our album we put out,
Yeah.
that from a songwriting perspective, it's very thematic. It sticks to a theme, and scenarios that kind of encompass one another. And those songs were all written more with the band input, aside from me writing songs at home and bringing them here. And so there's a concept in there. But yeah, we improvise, but there is structure. I mean, believe it or not, there's like songs and there's bridges and there's intros and outros and stuff. But what we have is a thing called jumping points. So you'll get to a certain point in the process of the song, and that's our jumping spot where we're gonna jump off and hang in a certain area and support each other, and then we're gonna land back on the pad and get back to the format. So I think that kind of separates us from just full on like going out there and winging it. Like we do have, believe it or not, like structured material, which helps us really put in some fun improv stuff based on the melody, based on, Jason will play a melody or Ned will play a melody, or based on Josh's hi-hat rhythm, we're all just kind of
Tease a song
in there, but come back to the song always.
And I think a lot of the improv with the videos and broadcasting and always having that live recording came from when 2020 hit and the pandemic. We were used to playing live a lot, and we needed to find that new output for that. So we tried to incorporate what we already do in the studio and how to broadcast that and build our media presence, which we've never done before. And so we've been doing that and learning how to bring our live show any scenario that you can. And so now we have that, and we can do we've been doing some live releases, but then we now could possibly have time to come back and do concept albums or re-record some songs that we've been writing along the way and want some structure to, and just build an album from either live shows, or that could be a concept album in itself. Is just each live show has its own flavor. So I think that's just where it's kind of steered from, is from 2020 and having to find a new outlook and a new outpost. And so we just threw a whole bunch of cards and been playing a bunch of decks. And now, you brought up the concept album, which we could do, and we can come back to that now.
Make your own.
I just wrote one. I just wrote the concept album. We're good. We got it.
All right,
Just wrote it.
you're going. Something else cool.
Just wrote it. It's gonna be a good one.
Something else cool that kind of happened in the past few years is, Dennis writes 95% of our music at least, but there's always the freedom for someone else to bring something to the table, or a song gets written backwards. We wrote one during the pandemic where saxophone is almost the lead voice, and then there's solos of vocals. So Nettie brings songs to the table on his melodica, and then there's songs written around the melodica. Bernard wrote a song, has his own song. The guitar player, like Jay mentioned, he's got songs. So we kind of all have the ability to bring that to the table, and that's good freedom.
As a band, do y'all have a favorite theme as far as the songwriting goes, or is kind of an individual flavor?
This guy can write it off of just saying something to him. Sometimes I'll be talking to him and then he'll be singing a song, and I'll go, oh, that's just what I was talking to him about.
It's like fishing, Kyle. You got to keep casting. You got to always be casting before you catch that fish. If you don't go to the fishing hole, you're never going to catch a fish. So I live at the fishing hole. I'm always in the fishing hole, thinking about lyrics and songs. But it's always there. Like everything that someone says has to go through my brain and process. Can this fit into a song, band name, some joke, and then it can be filtered out through there. Jokes included, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have like a favorite kind of theme that you like to write, like a love song or anything like that?
You sit there, what life is bringing in the moment, and not just in our own lives, but in the world, and what we experience in a collective that we might be chit-chatting about, or whatever whatever might bring up.
I like to write about stuff, for me, when I write stuff, I like to disguise it as describe it too as nature, and then there's a relationship, a metaphor I'm making to something else in life. But so a lot of nature themes, and I like writing about the rain and the wind and snow and the mountains and the rivers and the tides and the currents, all that stuff that makes the world go around, the moon, sun, stars, and all that good stuff.
And as part of that theme, it seems like a lot of it is encouraging and uplifting.
Always.
And that's one of the things that is really, I think, attracts a lot of folks to the band, because of that. I think that's a key.
Yeah, Sesame Street, I was raised on it in the late 70s, and they had this big track, sing a joyful song, make it happy, make the world go round, and that's what we try to do.
Totally, yeah.
And if something stands in the way of that, we aren't afraid to kind of address it, but once again, not in a political standpoint. We're not going there.
And no politics.
But tragedy, and what's it going to be? These are things that we want to make sure that we put the music behind too.
Well, it's great that you're bringing positivity in the world. And yes, I remember that on Sesame Street, sing a song.
It's a hot track.
And I also remember Karen Carpenter singing that song. So
Really?
That's I think, yeah.
While we're talking about it, my other jam from Sesame Street is they'd have all the kids in the boxes, right? And they'd all be doing something. It'd be like, one of these kids is doing his own thing. One of these kids is not the same. And I always wanted to be the kid who was not the same. For whatever reason, I was like, oh, that's me. That's the one over here. I'm gonna be
Definitely not
completely different. Whatever.
you sure that was an electric company?
It's hazy.
I couldn't pick it up where I was.
Company. Those a long time ago, Kyle. But I'm gonna research. We're gonna Google it afterwards.
When I'd go to the big city of Charlotte, I would be able to watch Electric Company and Sesame Street. So where I live, it was really fuzzy. So we dialed into one of the clear stations.
Yeah,
so I
see.
didn't get to see as much. I came into it years later when my daughter was born, and then I did the Sesame Street world for sure.
You know, positive stuff, man.
Uh-huh.
I can say I remember Morgan Freeman starting on the Electric Company. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
how long ago that was.
We're gonna watch the Electric Company after our session. So I have a feeling.
Yeah, my favorite on Sesame Street was Manamana.
They also did have that cool opening scene with the what's that called, Ned? The little pinball machine.
Pinball machine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
5, 6,
6,
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah.
That was psychedelic, by the way.
Yeah.
Very psychedelic.
That
Very
and the
psychedelic.
Schoolhouse
Jeez.
Rock was rocking too for me going.
Yeah,
Saturday morning. That
I'm
Schoolhouse
just
Rock
a
was
bill,
going on.
a lonely
Yeah.
bill on Capitol Hill.
Yeah,
You know.
politics.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. You can mention
Yeah.
that song. Man, I could see we could talk about our childhoods for a long time.
Oh yeah, we can go.
Yeah, no one
Yes.
gets there.
That's all that leads to today, and we wouldn't be who we are today without all that
Exactly.
behind us. That's for sure.
Thanks, Big
And,
Bird.
Yes,
Yeah.
I miss growing up in the 70s, dude. I miss that.
oh yeah, I did myself. I just turned 60, by the way. So
That's 420 in dog years.
Yeah. It is.
I know it accomplished something.
Man. So you guys have a website?
Yes.
We'll let Jason do all of our.
Yes, it's Chalwa, CHALWA, roots.com. And on there you can find our radio station. Anything is either going to be under Chalwa Music or Chalwa Roots, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all those fun things. But ChalwaRoots.com will take you to the main hub for all that stuff.
And we will be live tonight on YouTube after we do this interview. We'll go
Yeah, we'll be doing
live.
a live stream.
We'll probably have to wait about 15 minutes, but we'll
Yeah.
probably get one going here before too much longer.
But we're live on the internet every Tuesday, and then our Sunday shows, we broadcast those on
If we
location.
can, yeah.
And we can turn a concrete pad into a full studio. It's the most fun ever. Dennis mentioned we all kind of bring pieces of the puzzle together, and that's very true with our live setup. We all bring our instruments, our rigs. Jay brings sound, video. We piece it all together so we can build a complete multi-camera live studio on the spot. So it's fun to take to the different places.
Okay, so the YouTube link that Billy sent me, is that the same one that you do your live feed on?
That
Okay.
is.
I want to add that into the description so people can just click on it and find
Perfect.
y'all.
Thank you.
And we'd love to thank Glass Onion and Billy for
Yeah.
sure for
Yeah,
turning
big
us
time.
on to you, and hopefully we can hang out again sometime.
yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
giving us the opportunity to rainbow on the interweb, and hopefully share some positive vibes, Kyle. It's been really nice chatting with you.
Thanks for doing what you
Thanks,
do.
guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. And also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back, hit that subscribe button. And for my regulars, you guys rock because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
So much